When you encounter a franchise that's been around as long as Pokémon has, you're bound to find a plethora of different gameplay mechanics and features used across its various games. Pokémon is no exception to this and is actually a bit unique in this sense, as it's constantly introducing new features only to abandon them after one game in favor of new ones. With this kind of development practice, you're bound to have features here or there that get overlooked every now and then, and some of the most overlooked and buried gameplay mechanics that seldom ever get talked about are actually incredible and certainly deserve some more attention, so I've put together a list of 5 such features that I'm going to highlight in today's video. Before we start, however, I wanted to go ahead and sponsor myself and let you guys know about the new merch I have available on TeePublic. We've obviously got the new Hoops and Hip Hop logo tee and even a poster for Pokemon Cardinal. You can get some for yourself with the link in the description. It greatly supports the channel at the same time, so thank you so much in advance for any and all support on that, and with that said, on to the video. The first feature I'm going to highlight here is that of 3-typed Pokemon. The idea of Pokemon having 3 types has always been something in the realm of wacky fan ideas, but it was made a legit thing in Generation 6 with the signature moves of Phantump and Pumpkaboo. When these Pokemon use either Forest's Curse or Trick or Treat respectively, they add either the Grass or Ghost type onto the target, and if that target is already dual typed, it will have 3 types for the remainder of the battle. Now, having 3 types on one Pokemon can obviously change the way you battle drastically, and I personally think it's a really fun idea because there's just so much you could do with that mechanic if it was more widespread, but alas, we never really see it in the games outside of these 2 moves, so the mechanic has largely been in the background since its inception. I can kind of understand why, however, because if you implemented a triple-typed mechanic on a large scale, things could get out of hand very quickly if you weren't careful, so Game Freak would have to be very methodical about this one if it was ever expanded upon. Still though, I think it's a really cool feature in its own right that deserves some more spotlight outside of these 2 single moves, so hopefully in the future we'll see some type of new Pokemon that's triple typed, or maybe a larger scale way to give Pokemon 3 types as well. Following that up is another awesome one out of Pokemon X and Y, and that would be Inverse Battles. Only available in the Generation 6 games and only in select locations, Inverse Battles are exactly how they sound in that they literally reverse the type effectiveness of everything in battle, and immunities no longer exist. In fact, any Pokemon that was immune to a type before is now also weak to it as well, so if you thought 3-typed Pokemon would change up the game, you haven't seen anything yet. This one is definitely a little more on the gimmicky side of things that's kind of just there for fun, so I can understand why it wasn't retained in Generation 7, but even still, it's kind of a groundbreaking feature that's a lot of fun to participate in, yet it never is brought up or mentioned really ever in the Pokemon community, and even the games it features in, you could just as easily miss it altogether, which I think is a bit sad considering just how interesting it is. This obviously isn't the type of thing you would have as the mechanic of a generation, but at the very least, I think it could still be around in the games to this day, and maybe even brought into online play where you could select to have an inverse battle with whoever you're challenging. I think that would be a lot of fun and provide for just that many more ways to play, which is never a bad thing, and would make better use of this cool feature that is more than deserving, but presently severely overlooked. Next is a feature that is definitely the most highly publicized and talked about one on this list, but I also feel it goes underappreciated and vastly underutilized by Game Freak themselves, and that would be the Seasons feature and the idea of seasonal forms. Seasons was a mechanic introduced in the Generation 5 games that further made the world of Pokemon come alive, expanding upon the efforts of the day and night cycle and weather. Which season it is at any given point in the games also has a number of different effects, including changing the overall look of certain areas, the time at which day and night begin, and even the encounter rates of certain wild Pokemon. It also changes which form Deerling and Sawsbuck appear in, as they have a different one for each of the 4 seasons. Now, the reason why this mechanic is on this list is because I don't think it's been used properly by Game Freak up to this point, and I don't think it's really valued enough by the fanbase. Yeah, I know it is a well-accepted feature, but when you list the reasons why you might like Gen 5, I don't really hear anyone saying it's because of the seasons. It's the kind of thing that just kind of gets lost in the background. Likewise, it's really surprising that Game Freak just left this in the past with the Unova games. As I mentioned earlier, this is a mechanic in the vein of the day and night cycle or weather, things that are constants within any living, breathing world, and clearly the world of Pokémon. Seasons are exactly the same way, so why take them away after you've already introduced them? There is so much potential to even further expand on its effects, such as it having an even bigger effect on the wild Pokemon you encounter. It already does affect encounter rates, but what if you'd be able to find more fire Pokemon in the summer that you can't normally encounter, or more ice Pokemon in the winter? That would vastly improve the quality of the gameplay, and it would be such a natural fit. You could even expand upon seasonal forms, something that as of now is exclusive to Deerling and Sawsbuck. I know this is kind of their thing, but it would be cool to see the seasons affect other grass types as well, even if just by their appearance. The only logical conclusion I can come to as to why this feature hasn't been carried over to newer games is because it obviously changes the look of the overworld a lot, which could make things difficult now that we've made the leap to 3D. Still though, I feel like seasons are something that have to make their return into the Pokemon world eventually, and until they do, I think they've been grossly undervalued. Yet another feature from Pokemon X and Y that isn't utilized nearly the way it should be, which shows how awesome X and Y were, to be honest, are dual-typed moves. In the 6th gen, X and Y introduced the first and so far only dual-typed move with Hawlucha's signature Flying Press. While categorized as a fighting type move, it does the damage of both a fighting and flying type in terms of effectiveness, which can provide for a fascinating number of new options in terms of strategy. When this was introduced, it was very noteworthy and seemed like it could become the next big thing, but as time passed and nothing happened with it, it sort of just faded into the background. As details for Pokemon Sun and Moon were coming out, we found out that Professor Kukui would be studying Pokemon moves, and we learned that Solgaleo's signature move was called Sun Steel Strike. I theorized because of this that dual-type moves were going to be expanded upon and be the next big feature in Generation 7, but of course it did not end up that way, and we got Z moves instead, which I could argue aren't as good as dual-typed moves could have been. Overall, this seems like the perfect type of thing to be introduced on a wider scale, because it can shake up the gameplay and provide for new levels of strategy without being too overwhelming or over the top, and it just seems like it would work perfect as a more high-profile feature, and it's a shame that it's currently being forced to fade into obscurity. Moving on, the most recently introduced new feature on this list, which I hope will allow for it to be expanded upon in the future, are typeless Pokemon. In Generation 7, a new Fire-type move was introduced called Burn Up, which can only be used by Fire-type Pokemon, and upon using it, the user loses its Fire-type, and if that Pokemon was pure Fire-type to begin with, it becomes typeless. Now, typeless isn't really anything too exciting, as it is essentially a more normal version of the normal type in that it gives and receives normal damage to every type of Pokemon, but it is intriguing because as we know, Pokemon never come without some sort of type attached to them. Despite this being newly introduced though, I wasn't even aware it was a thing until recently, which just goes to show it was literally overlooked by me and how easy it is to not even know that it exists despite it being a really intriguing feature. Because of the juxtaposition of it all, I really feel like this could be put to better use, maybe by having more moves that initiate a typeless effect, or maybe even introducing a typeless Pokemon of some kind. That would definitely make it stand out and be more memorable to say the least, and at the very least, I feel like it's something that would be cool to explore further. It definitely has the opportunity to do so with how new it is, but so far it's also been way under the radar, so hopefully it doesn't stay that way. What do you guys think of all these features though? Do you think they should be expanded upon, or are they fine the way they are? Let me know with a comment below and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Also, subscribe if you're new for more videos, and be sure to check out my Pokemon Cardinal project if you haven't, and you can also check me out on Spotify to further support the channel, which is greatly appreciated. This is also the last week to enter my Sword and Shield giveaway on Twitter, so be sure to go check that out if you're interested in possibly winning a copy of the games with the link in the description, because I will be picking the winner for that on Monday. With that said though, I'll be back on Saturday with another video, so until then, I love you guys as always, and until the next one as always, I will smell you guys later.